Alex Volkanovski, I've got something to prove. In Max Holloway rematch at UFC 251, UFC featherweight champion Alex Volkanovski has a chip on his shoulder going into his rematch with Max Holloway. Volkanovski turned in the best performance of his pro MMA career back in December 2019. He defeated Max Holloway via unanimous decision to capture the UFC featherweight title. Since that win, Volkanovski has felt disrespected as a UFC champion and feels he needs to solidify his status as the cream of the crop at featherweight. One way Volkanovski feels he can achieve this goal is by stopping Holloway in their rematch. Alex Volkanovski wants to leave no doubt in Max Holloway rematch. Volkanovski vs Holloway 2 will serve as the co-main event of UFC 251 on July 11th. The event will take place on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. Volkanovski told MMA Junkie that he knows there will be plenty of eyeballs on the UFC's first Fight Island event and he wants to make a statement. This card is huge, massive, and I wanted to be a part of it. I made sure that happened. Again, I don't need much time to get ready. If we get a few weeks, I'm fight fit, so I'm in good nick. I'm ready to roll. I've got something to prove. I wanted to get out here and compete, show everyone that I'm the best featherweight in the world. I want to put Max away. Holloway has only been stopped once in his pro MMA career. That was a submission loss to Dustin Poirier in their first encounter back in Feb. 2012. It was Holloway's fifth pro MMA bout. Volkanovski's last finishing win was back in December 2018. He earned a TKO victory over Chad Mendes. The performance put Volkanovski on the map and he went on to defeat Jose Aldo and Holloway. How do you think the rematch between Alex Volkanovski and Max Holloway will play out? Max Holloway, Alex Volkanovski asked for rematch at UFC 251. Max Holloway may have lost to Alex Volkanovski, but he says it was the Great who asked for a rematch. Holloway will get a second crack at Volkanovski on Saturday night, July 11th. Back in December 2019, Holloway lost the UFC featherweight championship to Volkanovski via unanimous decision. The rematch will serve as UFC 251's co-main event on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. Max Holloway insists Alex Volkanovski asked for rematch. Speaking to MMA Fighting, Holloway said he didn't need to put in any effort to get his title rematch. I didn't ask for the rematch, Holloway revealed when speaking to MMA Fighting. I didn't need to. He asked for it. Holloway went on to say there's no added weight on his back, knowing that another loss to Volkanovski would send him to the back of the line in the featherweight title picture. No pressure, Holloway said. I'm 0-0 every fight. You know this, my man. The next fight is always the most important one. That's how it works with the UFC, if you're actually asking for the toughest fights. They give it to you if that's what you want, and you know me. You know what I always ask for. Holloway's defeat to Volkanovski was the first loss for Blessed at featherweight since August 2013. Holloway has expressed his belief that he should have had his hand raised on that night. He's claimed that Volkanovski did the least amount of damage to him of all the title bouts he's been a part of. Volkanovski is hoping to solidify that he is indeed the better man inside the octagon. This will be his first title defense, and if he emerges victorious over Holloway, he'll become just the third man to successfully defend the UFC featherweight championship. The other two are Jose Aldo and Holloway. Dustin Poirier says Jorge Masvidal not really stepping in on short notice. The guy never stopped training. Those Jorge Masvidal fans who are concerned about the short notice nature of this weekend's fight can rest a little easier. On Saturday, Masvidal will challenge Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title at UFC 251 in Abu Dhabi. It wasn't always supposed to be that way, though. For months, everyone believed Usman and Masvidal would fight, however contract negotiations stalled the process before eventually falling through completely. Instead, the UFC scheduled Usman against Gilbert Burns, leaving Masvidal on the sidelines. But then Burns tested positive for COVID-19 last week and was forced off the card. When that happened, the UFC turned to Masvidal to step in on short notice, and now, instead of having months to prepare, Masvidal has only had 6 days. Or so it would seem. Speaking with the Fight with Teddy Atlas podcast, UFC lightweight contender and Masvidal's American top team teammate Dustin Poirier revealed that despite the contract negotiation snafu, Masvidal has been steadily preparing to face Usman this entire time, and that he played a pivotal role in Poirier's own preparation for his fight with Dan Hooker 2 weeks ago. It's a short-notice fight because he didn't have the contract signed, but let me tell you what, this guy was there my whole training camp, he was my main sparring partner, Poirier said. We probably put in 5 weeks of sparring together. He flew in wrestlers, the best wrestlers in the world. I think he put them up and the guys were there just for Jorge, just for Masvidal to use. The guy never stopped training. Even when the fight fell through and they gave it to Burns, I think it was at the end of my training camp, Jorge was still in the gym every day like he had a fight. That is good news for Masvidal fans, as Gamebred is already facing an uphill battle even without the short notice. Oddsmakers currently have Usman installed as a heavy favorite over Masvidal, and that's without taking into consideration that his head coach will no longer be able to corner him. But Poirier believes the BMF champion is going to surprise a lot of people on Saturday. I don't know if he knew something that we didn't, but the guy was in training camp the whole time and never stopped, Poirier said. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people with the kind of shape he's in. His timing is gonna be good because he was in my camp the whole time, helping a few guys, not just me. He's in fight shape, I know that much. This isn't a guy coming off the couch. This is a guy who was preparing to fight Usman and the fight fell through and he kept training. Like I said, I don't know if he just had a premonition, had a feeling, but he was in the gym non-stop, so I'm excited for him. He's a good guy and a pioneer of mixed martial arts, so it's great to see him get these opportunities. Masvidal is 35-13 in his MMA career and holds the UFC record for fastest stoppage, a 5-second KO of Ben Askren. Jorge Masvidal, devastated, Mike Brown won't be there to witness him win UFC title. It's been a wild few days for Jorge Masvidal after accepting a short-notice title opportunity to face welterweight king Kamaru Usman at UFC 251, flying halfway around the world and now sitting in quarantine as he awaits the final results of his COVID-19 tests after arriving in Abu Dhabi. For all the positive things that led to the BMF champion stepping into the main event, Masvidal also had to endure some unwelcome bad news after learning that his head coach Mike Brown would not be in his corner this weekend. The former WEC champion turned American top team coach was forced to skip out on UFC 251 after he tested positive for COVID-19. While Brown assured MMA Fighting on Tuesday that he was all good physically, it still doesn't negate his importance to Masvidal heading into the biggest fight of his career. It sucked emotionally just because I want him there when I get that belt, Masvidal told ESPN when asked about Brown's absence from his corner. I needed this individual to be there because he's a huge part of my career. He's been there for such a long time. We've been friends for such a long time as well. It took the air from all of us. Every single one of me and my cornermen were devastated by it. Thank God, Mike doesn't have any symptoms, nothing, any cold symptoms or sore throat or nothing. So he's great right now. Brown never got to Fight Island because his positive test was returned prior to the trip, so he began a long journey driving back to Florida while Masvidal boarded a private jet provided by his management team. Without Brown in Abu Dhabi, Masvidal sets foot in the octagon on Saturday night with at least 3 cornermen, including his longtime boxing coach Paulino Hernandez as well as his manager Abraham Kawa. Judging by his demeanor, Masvidal was mostly upset he won't be able to share a special moment in his career with Brown, but he promises the result of the fight will still be the same no matter who's coaching him. I'm going to baptize his ass, Masvidal said. That's for a fact. That's what you can bet on. That's the secret sauce right there. I'm going to baptize him. I'm going to do it in violent fashion and I'm going to separate myself from the pack even more than I have in the past.